What happens when the monster you helped unleash finally sums up courage and turns his rage on you? Just weeks ago, Hikuleo and Jacob Fatu were expected to be allies, bound by blood, legacy, and the fallout of the Bloodline civil war. But backstage at SmackDown, cameras caught Hikuleo doing what no one dared, stepping directly into Jacob Fatu's path. Sources say Hikuleo didn't flinch. He stood inches from Fatu and said, "This isn't your kingdom." No fists thrown. Just a stare. A warning. You could feel the walls shake. This wasn't about ego. This was about identity, who really carries the family name with honor. Jacob didn't respond with violence. He smiled, then walked off. What does that mean? Respect? Fear? Or something way worse? Don't forget to smash that subscribe button and drop a comment down below who you think is going to win if these two collide again. What happens when power collides with power? When legacy challenges legacy? When the storm you thought was on your side suddenly turns its fury toward you? The WWE Universe just witnessed something that could shift the balance of the Bloodline civil war forever. And no, it didn't happen in the ring. It happened backstage. Quiet. Tense. No punches thrown. But make no mistake, this was a declaration of war. It all went down at WWE SmackDown on July 5, 2025. Backstage cameras, usually ignored by superstars going about their routines, captured a moment so intense, it went viral before the first match even started. Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf, the rebel enforcer of the original Bloodline faction, was seen walking through the corridor of the arena. His presence, as always, was commanding, head high, chest out, moving like he owned the space. But then the atmosphere shifted. There was a subtle tension in the air. The kind that makes crew members stop pushing gear. The kind that makes other superstars pause mid-conversation. Because coming from the other side of the hallway was someone just as dangerous, Hikuleo. For weeks, WWE fans have watched the towering Hikuleo align with Solo Sikoa's renegade version of the Bloodline. At first, it seemed like he was just muscle, brought in to back up Solo's ruthless ambitions. But this confrontation proved something else entirely. Hikuleo isn't a follower. He's a storm with his own direction. And tonight, that storm crossed paths with the very man who helped him rise. Jacob Fatu stopped. Hikuleo didn't blink. For a moment, it was silent. No referees. No commentary team. No crowd to cheer or boo. Just two descendants of wrestling royalty, standing inches apart. The weight of their stare could have shattered glass. Then, Hikuleo leaned forward and said the words that left everyone backstage frozen. "This isn't your kingdom." Not a shout. Not a threat. A statement. Ice cold. Direct. The kind of thing you don't say to Jacob Fatu unless you're ready to deal with the consequences. But here's the twist. Jacob didn't retaliate. No growl. No threats. No fists. Instead, he smiled. That devilish, knowing Jacob Fatu grin. The kind that says, "You don't know what you just started." Then he turned around and walked off. Left Hikuleo standing there, unshaken. But also unchallenged. For now. What does this mean? To understand how we got here, we have to rewind a few weeks. Jacob Fatu was betrayed. Brutally. Solo Sikoa formed his own bloodline. One without Roman Reigns, without the traditional hierarchy. A faction that believed in destruction over discipline. And he didn't do it alone. He brought in Tama Tonga, Jeff Cobb, and most importantly, Hikuleo. At first, fans thought Jacob might join them. After all, he had reasons to turn on Roman. Reasons to reject the legacy that cast him aside for years. And when Hikuleo stepped in, it felt like the perfect match. Two monsters. Two outcasts. Two walking warheads brought together under a single banner. But in WWE, nothing is that simple. Jacob Fatu is not just a wrecking machine. He's a man with pride, with history, with a name to protect. And when Hikuleo started taking more screen time, started making bigger statements, the writing was on the wall. There's only room for one alpha. Even inside a faction, dominance matters. Ego matters. And Jacob saw it coming. He saw Hikuleo not just as a soldier, but a rival. someone who wasn't going to follow forever. So maybe tonight's confrontation wasn't shocking, it was inevitable. And that's what makes this moment even more dangerous. You see, Hikuleo stepping up wasn't a betrayal. It was an evolution. A signal that he's no longer interested in being someone else's enforcer. He wants the spotlight, the respect, the kingdom. And Jacob Fatu? He's standing in the way of that. When Hikuleo said, "This isn't your kingdom," he wasn't just challenging Jacob. He was declaring himself as a future king of the Anoa'i family legacy. The kind of king who doesn't bow, doesn't negotiate, and doesn't wait his turn. But let's not ignore Jacob's reaction. That smile. It wasn't fear. It wasn't confusion. It was calculation. Because Jacob Fatu doesn't operate on impulse. He knew this day would come. And now that it has, he's planning something deeper. Something darker. Because remember, Jacob Fatu is not a man who needs to yell. He lets his actions do the talking. If Hikuleo thinks this was his big moment, he might be walking into a trap. And the WWE Universe? We're caught in the middle of it. Imagine this. SummerSlam. Hikuleo versus Jacob Fatu. A match that doesn't just tear down the arena, but tears down the very idea of what the Bloodline is supposed to be. No tribal chief. No wise man. No brothers. Just two forces of nature, bred from the same family tree, now set to burn it down from opposite ends. But here's the scariest part. Neither of them is backing down. Hikuleo's rise has been rapid, dominating Raw, leaving chaos in his wake. Every move he makes is calculated. Every statement, cold and emotionless. He's not out here cutting promos for cheers or boos. He's here to send messages. And tonight's message was aimed straight at Jacob's heart. But Jacob has seen worse. He's survived wars in the independent circuit. He's fought for respect his entire career, even when WWE didn't give him the platform he deserved. Now that he has it, he won't let anyone, family or not, rip it away. So, what's next? The rumor mill is spinning out of control. Some insiders say this confrontation was just the beginning of a long-term feud that could headline Survivor Series. Others believe it's even deeper. Part of a master plan by Roman Reigns to pit these warriors against each other before returning to reclaim the throne himself. And then there's the wild card, Solo Sikoa. Where does he stand in this brewing war? Does he support Hikuleo's bold move? Or did Hikuleo just step out of line and threaten everything Solo is trying to build? We've seen what happens when the bloodline implodes. But this is something more dangerous. This is when ambition turns inward. When brothers become threats. When silence speaks louder than steel chairs. Jacob Fatu versus Hikuleo isn't just a battle of strength, it's a war of identity. Who carries the true legacy of the bloodline? Who wears the scars of sacrifice? And who'll be left standing when the family tree finally falls? The next few weeks on SmackDown will be critical. Will Jacob Fatu respond? Will Hikuleo make the first move inside the ring? Will Solo Sikoa try to stop